Okay, so we're live and it's another LinkedIn Publishing Perspectives session. This is session 3. We've done 2 previous ones. Session 1 was about stopping the overwhelm. And it's so many things you could write and so many different ways you could write a book. And we talked about how you can stop that overwhelm of getting it done. Session 2 was about stop guessing who should read your book and what you should write for them, talking about their most important problem. And now we're doing step 3, which is stop hoping. Stop hoping that the right people will magically find your book. Now, as always, I am really open to your comments, your questions, your thoughts, your suggestions, anything that you want to say. Pop me a comment and if possible, I will answer it. If not, I'll pop you a message afterwards and answer you afterwards. So do pop me any comments that you want or private messages. Okay, so let's get started. There are probably 3 reasons. There's probably more, I don't know 100%, but there are at least 3 reasons why nobody is reading or buying your book. I mean, there are some other reasons. It could just be pants, but there are at least 3 reasons why nobody is reading or buying your book. And it's not because you're not shouting loud enough. I mean, really, that's the last of the problems or the reasons why people aren't reading your book. Reason 1 is that people aren't reading your book is because you wrote it for you. Okay, so if you didn't write it for them, that very, very special person, then and you wrote it for you, and there is nothing wrong with writing a book for you. And I go through this process with some of my clients. We write their book first, and then afterwards we write the books for the one special reader. Sometimes you just got to get it out there. But if you're just getting the book out there to get it out of your head and to get the ideas down, then you're writing it for you, and that's fine. But you can't expect other people to want to read it. So reason 2 is you didn't speak to their most important problem, which kind of connected with reason 1. But if you didn't speak to their most important problem, to that one special person's most important problem, which we talked about last week, then they're not going to read your book because you're not talking to them, you're not talking to their problem. And reason 3 is probably the most insidious one, and it's because, well, you don't really know who they are. So you've been talking to this avatar person, which we talked about last time, and you've been trying to write for a group of people, and you don't really know them enough to make your book so important to them that they have to read it and that they can't not read it. Okay, so there's at least 3 reasons. These are the 3 reasons I come across most of all, and these are the 3 reasons that when we talk about marketing, we can resolve. So that's always good, isn't it? Okay, because it's about value, not marketing. If you want people to read your book, you've got to give them value. You've got to give them really good reason to read your book. You've got to give them value. And then you don't need to be making all this noise, which is what we mostly associate marketing and sales with, is noise and shouting. You can listen for the signal. You can listen for their feedback, for what they need from you, what they want from you, and what they like from you. Okay, so I'm Deb Jenkins, in case you didn't know, and I've been running my own businesses for 25-ish years. I forget sometimes. I forget how old I am. I started with a web design and marketing company all back in the 96, and so marketing is kind of like where I started my own businesses from. And I founded my first publishing company in 2003, and I exited that in 2011. And now I run this specialist cohort publishing company for really smart people who want to write short, valuable books. And overall, about writing a book and about getting your book out there and getting people to read your book, my best advice is stop thinking that marketing is a dirty word. If we can just accept that marketing is adding value, and we start adding value right from the start, that's what I'm going to talk to you about now, then we get away from this discomfort, this uncomfortableness, this, oh, got to do a bit of marketing, and we stop thinking of it as a dirty word, and we start actually embracing it, because it's how we'll find out more about our one special reader, and it's more about how we add value to them. Okay, just complete change of mindset about marketing. Okay. But first of all, like I said, there's 3 reasons why, but number 1 reason could be that your book is pants, and there's not much I can do to help you if your book's pants, as pants is a technical term. So the first thing to do is actually make a brilliant book. And I help people actually do that because, you know, that's what I do. So the best way of marketing your book is that your book is brilliant and it answers a problem for one special person. If you've got a problem with the book, then we start fixing the book before we start splatting and adding marketing on top. Okay, and this is where we come into. So let's assume you've got this brilliant book. So you know your book's brilliant. There are two marketing traps at the end, which is this. There are multiple marketing traps, but these are two marketing traps. There's the write it and they will come trap. So, hey, I've written this book. People are just going to flood to me and they're going to buy it. They're actually going to be standing outside my door in the morning, knocking on the door, waiting for me to give them a book. Okay, so that's one, you know, like, hey, it's the best book in the world. People are just going to come and buy it from me. I don't need to tell anybody. I don't need to do anything. They're just going to flock to me and buy it. And on the reverse side of that is, nobody wants to hear about my book again. I told all of my list of 7 people about my book and no one wants me to tell them about my book again. Or I can't possibly put it on LinkedIn. I can't put it on my profile. I couldn't put it on Twitter. I couldn't talk about my book. You know, nobody wants to hear about it again. They're kind of flip sides of the same trap. Okay, so it's the ego side of like, it's so brilliant, everybody will come. And then the fear side of, I can't tell people about it again, they're going to get bored of me. And these two things, these two elements are what keep us from actually getting our book in the hands of the people who need to read it and making those people happy. And that's what I'm going to hopefully help you think about today. As I said before, if you've got any comments or any questions, do pop me a message. Okay. This probably is not what anybody wants to hear when they come and talk to me about writing a book. It's the last thing they want to hear, but marketing is the most important part. Your wonderful flourish of words, your ability to demonstrate your models and methods and methodologies and tactics and all of this means nothing if we don't take marketing into account. It's the most important part, because marketing is this thing about adding value and allowing yourself to deliver what the one reader needs. And it's basically, marketing is the most important thing. And it's why I talk about marketing all the way through. I talk about it from day one. When somebody speaks to me on a discovery call, I start asking them, what are you going to do with the book? Who's it for? What's it going to do for your business? We talk about marketing from day one. Now, the two sides of that coin, you know, they're not telling anybody and then assuming nobody wants to know, are ego getting in the way and fear stopping you from stepping up. So we have to get over these fearful things. Lisa's just come, and Lisa, I love you. She knows that anyway. Lisa, I love you loads. Marketing is totally out of my comfort zone. Lisa DeGao said this. Marketing is totally outside my comfort zone, so I'm grateful for these ideas, Debs. Particularly, I like the idea of listening for signals. Do you know what? Listening is so much easier than talking. It's a shame more of us don't do it. Me too. So yeah, marketing is about listening. Marketing is about listening to the person that's speaking to you and with a desire to understand how you can help them. Okay, thanks, Lisa. And anybody else who's got a comment, it's really helpful when people put comments in. At least it shows that I'm not just talking to my computer all by myself. So thank you. Okay, so the thing about marketing, the thing about creating anything for anybody, we're talking about books in particular, but creating anything for anybody, an offer or whatever it is that you are not only competing with your competitors, with other book writers, with other coaches or consultants or speakers or product developers. You're not only competing with them, you're not only competing with other books or media in your market, but you're actually competing against overwhelm. You know, your reader, the people who should be reading your book have got so much going on. There are so many different things they could be doing, they need to be doing, jobs, kids, family, trying to keep fit, all of the things that they're overwhelmed with. And they're probably feeling quite exhausted. And, you know, they're really not, you're not part of their universe, you know, and they're exhausted. They've got all this other stuff to do. And even if they're not overwhelmed and exhausted, they may be a bit complacent and they think, actually, I don't need to look at this now. I don't need to read this now. I don't need to do this now. So you're competing against against complacency too. And not only that, you're also competing against cat videos, so it's really a lot of competition out there for people's time and energy. We've got a couple of comments in. So Judy said, this is helpful for us coy Brits. Yeah, Brits, we just don't like talking about our stuff. And Dan said, Dan Kowalski said, have to disagree. Listening is way harder than talking. We talk because it is easy. Asking questions and truly listening is really hard. And he's absolutely right, Dan. I'm a chatterbox. Dan knows, everybody knows I'm a bit of a chatterbox, and I only learn things when my mouth is shut. And so actually taking the time to hear what my clients need or hear what the one reader needs is much more important. We think we've got to go out there telling all the time and saying all the time and sharing posts on LinkedIn and doing all this stuff and talky, but we actually need to just calm it down a bit and listen. Okay, thanks, Dan. Okay, hide. Yeah. Okay, we're not hiding Dan's comment. It's too good. Okay, so as I talked about, listen to experts. So stop talking, listen to experts. Now, there's a chap called Harry. He's really cool, and he runs this website called marketingexamples.com. Sign up for his newsletter. It's one of the best. And he says that content is discovered in one of two ways. People search for it or people share it. Now, if you imagine the last time you went to a search engine or to Amazon or wherever it is the thing you were searching for, where you did a search, the thing you were searching for was to solve a problem. You weren't necessarily going there to watch cat videos. You were going there maybe to, I don't know, find a cat bath or a cat brush or whatever it was. You were going there to cat treats, that's just me, to solve a problem. Share ideas, share memes, share stuff, because it solves a problem. And that problem could be boredom or irritation or feeling sad, or actually a more important problem of solving a thing that your business solves for them. So people will search for your book to solve a problem, and they will share your book when it has solved a problem. I'm looking for how to get published. Hey, I found how to get published. Read this book, it's really great. Okay, so that's how you get searched and shared. So it's a very, very simple mechanism. If you follow Harry says, content gets found by search and share. If your book will get found from search and share, if you just keep that concept in mind, and you will see that the basis of that concept is a problem. And we talked last week about the most important problem. If you can solve the most important problem, people will search for that problem, and then they will share you as the solution, your book. And that is the basis of marketing. That is the absolute basis, the minimum you can possibly do. Okay, but to do that, you need to know their problem, and you need to present it in a way that when they search for it, they'll find it, and when they consume it, they'll share it. Okay, so when does all this marketing pants start and end? It never starts, it never ends. It's always marketing. You will always be marketing. It starts before you write the first word, and it ends 20 years after you've published the book. If you've written and published a great book, 20 years later, people will still be buying it. My first book was nearly 20 years ago, actually 19 years ago, and people still buy it, and people still tell me, hey, on page 73, that really helped me. And we're talking like nearly 20 years later. So, and I still talk about that book now. I still tell people about that book, and I'm still surprised at how useful some of the bits in that book are. But your marketing, so that's the ends. It never really ends if you've written a good book. And it also starts before you write the first word. So marketing is not something you slap onto your book after you've written it, after you've published it, after it's out there. It's not something you just force on at the end. It's something that you start thinking about before you write the first word. We talked about these two really important things in the last two sessions, which is them, the person that you're writing for, and their most important problem. That is marketing. That is, until you know those things, you really shouldn't be even thinking about writing a book. Okay, and once we know their most important problem, and we know we can solve it, because obviously we wouldn't be writing the book if we couldn't solve it, then all we have to do marketing is add value. So when we have conversations, we add value. When we put stuff out on LinkedIn, we add value. When I do these publishing perspectives events, I'm adding value. I'm trying to share with you some tips and techniques and tactics that you can go away and do to make your book more searchable and shareable, to make your book get read. Okay, so it's just adding value, and it's marketing. It's amazing. But if you just think of it as adding value rather than the scary M word, then it makes life a lot easier. Now, I've been sharing this quote for like about 26 years. About 100 years ago, much longer than me, John Wanamaker said, allegedly said, because there's quite a lot of nobody really knows if it was him who said it first. He said, half the money I spent on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. Now, I've been joking about this for the last 20 odd years about marketing. So the problem is, half the marketing I do is wasted, or waste of time. I just don't know which half. I would guess these days it's probably about 90% wasted. I've got no figures on this. My guess is it's about 90% wasted. And I think that 90% of your marketing is wasted because it's focused on the easy social marketing activities. Now, there's nothing wrong with social marketing. It's a fantastic vehicle for getting in front of people, but it's not the only vehicle. In fact, in that book that I said that I wrote nearly 20 years ago, there are 7 things we taught. It's called Lean Marketing. Here's a copy of it. There we go. It's called The Gorillas Want Bananas, the Lean Marketing Handbook for Small Expert Businesses. And there were 7 things in there that we suggested that all small expert businesses should do. And only one of them had anything to do with the internet. And obviously back then, social media wasn't invented. I'm that old. But our focus these days tends to be on social. And we forget all the other things we could possibly do, all the antisocial things we could possibly do. And so I think right now, maybe it's even closer to 90% of the stuff we do is wasted. Because there are at least 1,763 things you could do to market your book or your business or your course or whatever it is you're thinking about marketing. And some of them are going to work. Some of them will work. You know, they will, of the 1,763. And the thing of it is do those things. Now, I can't tell you if you do X, Y, and Z, you're going to have magic results and your book is going to magically fly off the shelves. But I can tell you, if you follow the process and you take feedback and you listen and you evaluate, and then you make more, course corrections, then you've got a much better chance of making your book fly off the shelves than if you just sit down, write it, and then splat a bit of marketing on at the end. Okay, so do the things that are working. That's just very easy for Deb to say. It's very easy for me to just say, well, just do the things that work. I'm going to give you some clues, obviously. These are some of the things I'm going to talk to you about, some of the tactics or some of the things that you could do to help market your book. You don't have to do all of them, but these are things that might work. We've discussed some of these things and in the previous sessions, okay? And they're obviously in my book, in case anybody wanted to know. The very first one is to be clear on the job your book has to do for your business. And we talk about this in chapter 1, and we talked about it 2 weeks ago. So to do marketing and to market your book and to get your book read, shared, and reviewed, and everybody want a copy of it, then your book has a job to do for your business. It's not there for vanity. It's not there just because you want to write a book. It has a job to do within your business. It has a job to do with moving people from suspects to prospects to experts to referrers. It has a job to do to increase the value or generate revenue or save time, or whatever its job has to do, then that is part of marketing. So it fits in a marketing bigger theme for your business. It also has to solve a real problem for a real reader or buyer. And we talked about that in chapter 2, and we talked about it last week. If there is no real problem that it's solving, it doesn't matter how much marketing is splat on, it's not going to get the job done. You're just shouting, and we should be looking for signal. It needs to be referable to get the word of mouth. So Harry's shareable and searchable and shareable. That's how you get it referred. You know, if it solves a problem, it will get passed on. So I say that it has to pass the tube test. So if I was sitting on the tube with your book open and people could see the book cover and the name of the book, would I be proud to be reading your book? Would I want people to know I was reading that book? Because they're not going to refer it if they wouldn't be proud to sit there with it on the tube. You know, the silly example is like Bomb Building for Beginners. You're not going to sit there reading that book on the tube, okay? Because that will mean that book would not be referable, or maybe in very, very small circles. And you also want to make it so valuable that people won't stop talking about it. One of the things I talk about with on my groups and with people I'm helping write their books is we need value per page. We need value per page. We need IP per chapter. The whole book has to be valuable. We want people to talk about every page. We want there to be a page that's something that's shareable on every single page. Got a question from Dan. What do you mean by okay? Dan said, "What do you mean by antisocial?" Okay, well, I'm a bit of a hermit and a bit of an antisocial. I live up a mountain in Spain, and what I mean by antisocial is not just social media. So you know, real life stuff. Go to conventions, speak to people. Dan and I have spoken to each other. Actually have real conversations. Social is great for finding people and finding groups, but then get it off social as fast as you can into real life. Look for real magazines, real events, conferences, do connections, make partnerships. We're going to talk a few of these in actually the next slide. But anti-social media is not just the socials. The socials have become the be-all and end-all of marketing, and it's bad for you and bad for your business. We need to get out of just the socials. Okay, and Judy has said that's Deb's sense of humour. I know, I'm sorry, I have a really dreadful sense of humour. I think I'm funny. I'm probably not. Okay, so be clear what job your book has to do. Solve a problem for one real reader. Be referable to get word of mouth, passing that tube test, and make it so valuable people won't stop talking about it, and they will share it. They will reference you in their books and talk about your book everywhere they go. Okay, so these are things we've already discussed in the book. Here are 4 marketing tactics that I really think every small business owner, consultant, coach, trainer, speaker, expert, thought leader should master. One is being visible where they are. Okay, so and this is the trap of social. We think, okay, well, where are they? They're going to be on socials. Yeah, and yeah, you're probably right, but it's not the only place they are. And first of all, to know where they are, you need to know who they are. But be visible where they are means that you have to be seen as the go-to, the expert, the part of the group, rather than like selling to them. You don't want, you want to be part of their group. You want to be where they are. I get asked quite a lot by clients is, should I be on TikTok? Should I be doing some TikToking? Should I be doing videos on YouTube? Should I be doing a podcast? Should I be doing Twitter? Should I be doing blah, blah, blah? Okay, and usually my answer, pretty much always my answer is that where your one reader hangs out? If that's where your one reader hangs out, then do a TikTok, do your Instagramming, get on Facebook, do the Facebook lives, if that's where your one reader hangs out. So go where they are. If they hang out at if your book's for walkers up the Pennine Way, then, hang out wherever their walkers hang out. I don't know what your books are about. So, but go where they are. That's number 1. Number 2 is use other people's time, money, and platform. I am Machiavellian at the best of times, and I'm a bit of a spendthrift, so I'm always looking for ways of adding value to other people's networks, but at the same time getting something for me. So that could be the socials, but it could also be guesting on podcasts. It could be guesting at a conference. It could be standing up and speaking on stage. And so all the guesting, so where you turn up and at somebody else's platform, at somebody else's event that they've been working and creating, but you add value to their users. So you're adding value one step down the chain. The other place is partnerships. And it's one of the things that kind of gets forgotten, put aside. It's like, yeah, I'll make partnerships later. People will come to me, they'll ask me to be partners with them. But making partnerships for your book is a really valuable way of getting your book read and sold. A client who made a partnership with a magazine chain and sold thousands of copies of his book because it got included in a magazine. Okay, so make partnerships, be a guest, and yes, the socials. We don't have to just do anti-socials. Number 3 is get to owned as quickly as possible. And the danger of focusing too much on the socials is that you never get, socials is somebody else's platform. You're hanging out in somebody else's garden. And what you want to do is you want to bring those people into your space so that if your account got switched off, you've still got access to those lovely people who are interested in what you've got to say, okay? So bring them into your list. So you should have a list. And if you haven't got a list, it's like the easiest thing to do these days. When I wrote my first book nearly 20 years ago, actually creating a marketing list was actually a really expensive thing to do. It was, you had to either have technical skills or you had to pay. Now it's free. You can make a list for free. But take them off the socials, take them off other people's platforms and take them into your own platform, okay? And then number 4, another marketing tactic to master is, and this one is my favorite one because I am a big reuser, recycler, upcycler. The process of thinking through and writing a book for one real person who has one most important problem, coming up with the frameworks and the strategies and the tactics and the images and all of the stuff that turns into a book, because it's much more than just the words. All of those bits are assets and they can be reused, recycled and upcycled. And once you realize that, that you can do marketing infinitely without having to constantly keep creating new stuff and constantly shouting, basically. So for example, these 4 workshops that I'm doing, the publishing perspectives, are from my book. I wrote the book, because I have expertise in that area. I wrote the book, and now in these 4 publishing perspectives, I'm taking tiny bits out of the chapters and sharing it in a different way of sharing it. So it's a different mechanism. It will speak to different people. So reuse, recycle and upcycle. Reuse means do the same thing again. Recycle means bring some of your old stuff. I do a session called Uncover Your Hidden Assets, but stuff that you've probably forgotten or you think isn't valuable anymore, bring that back up. And upcycle is add things together, make new things from your other older stuff, okay? So tactics to master. The thing of all marketing, all adding value is you have to take action. You've got to get it out there. You've got to execute. You've got to break through, which is the hardest thing for smart people, is to break through the brain world barrier. We get stuck in our brain. We get stuck thinking and don't actually get to acting and doing and executing. So try these tactics, try different things, try being a guest, see what happens, measure the results, bring it back into your business, and then decide what you're going to do next. Okay, but you've got to get out of the brain. While it's in the brain, it's actually not visible to other people. Okay, now what tends to happen for any small business owner, or for when you're thinking of launching a new product, or you're thinking of launching a book or writing a book, is go through a process of coming up with like a marketing plan. And, we're going to do this, this and this. Now, I think marketing plans are a waste of time. I think the process of planning is awesome and incredibly useful, but a marketing plan is probably out of date the moment it's being written. But if you've got a marketing direction, you have directional intention and a plan, then that will avoid having a marketing disaster. So just going through the process of thinking through a marketing plan is better than just hoping that marketing will happen and people will come and buy your book. Okay, now I've chatted about some of the tactics you could do, some of the different ways you could do it, but none of them mention the word hope, because hope is really not a great marketing strategy. Here's some marketing advice that might stop you from going bonkers. It might make you go bonkers as well. Makes me go bonkers. Number one is thinking campaigns. Okay, and what do I mean by thinking in campaigns? The thing about most marketing advice is that it's always on. It's like you switch on marketing and it's always on. And that can get really exhausting. You can get overwhelmed. You can get bored of yourself. I get bored of myself fairly frequently. And you can just kind of go into this sort of inside and inner cycle where you're not actually enjoying doing marketing anymore, okay? Because it becomes this marathon. It's a slog. It's exhausting. So if you're thinking campaigns like sprints of marketing activity, it helps you keep your energy up, and it helps you be energetic in the marketing and in the execution of the marketing plans. So thinking sprints. So am I going to do an Amazon bestseller plan? Am I going to do a free post and package? Thinking sprints, plan. Some of those sprints, once you've done them, can then carry on and have longevity. But think about setting them up in short, time-boxed spaces to give yourself pauses between the action. Okay. Number two, assign responsibilities. It's really should not just be you who's marketing your book. I call them the book lovers team. So you should have a book lovers team. And if you're running a business and you've got more than just you in your business, you might have an assistant or a whole team of people in the marketing department. Assign responsibilities. Don't take everything on for yourself, because you will be exhausted and you will run out of energy and run out of ask, basically. So assign responsibilities, not just you. Number three is that constraints are good for you and boundaries are essential. What are constraints? So going back to the idea of doing things in sprints, we can set constraints in sprints. If we're doing a marathon, it's very, very hard to set constraints, to set boundaries. But if we're thinking of marketing sprints or marketing campaigns, then we can set boundaries. We can set constraints. We can say how much time, like I'm going to do this for 3 months and then I'm going to review and see what happens. How much money I'm going to spend X thousand on adverts. How much energy I am going to work with these people. What resources am I going to set? So you set these constraints and you time box the marketing. You can only set constraints if you know what you're tracking for and where you're heading to, which is why you have to have this directionality. Number four is one that probably people are going to argue with me, and that's good because I like being arguing. It's starting your comfort zone. Now, most people say, hey, we've got to break out of our comfort zones and just do things and get out there and be brave and all of that, which is lovely. I love that. But it's a bit of hard work, and we've already got the hard work of writing and publishing a book and then telling people about it, and now we're going to have to push ourselves out of our comfort zones as well. Okay, I say start in your comfort zone and get a bit uncomfortable in your comfort zone, and then you'll find your comfort zone grows and grows and grows, and you might just pop out by accident. The thing is, if you say, hey, I'm going to do a book launch and I'm going to do 17 webinars and I'm going to turn up and speak in front of a big audience and I'm going to do a TED and I'm going to do podcasts and I'm going to do this, this and this, and you've never done any of those things before, they are all outside of your comfort zone. And you know what? None of them will get done, or they'll get done but badly. So if you start where you are already brilliant and build on that and push the edges of your brilliance, then you'll probably pop out of your comfort zone, but you will actually do the things because you can do them. They're in your comfort zone. Whereas if they're outside your comfort zone, you might never get there. Okay. Samuel has given us a comment. It's all very interesting, very reminiscent of the time when we worked together on my first website. What is your offer that people like me can buy apart from just buying book? In other words, what can authors like me do to try this type of writing and marketing? Oh, Adam, this sounds like a planted question. And it's not, Adam, I'll pay you later, mate, but it's a very, very fantastic question. Not next week, but the week after, I'm going to do another session. I'm going to tell you how we might work together, and it's a great mechanism, a system I've come up with, which is called cohort publishing, which basically takes you through all the bits, hands held, you know what I mean, And you don't have to worry about all these bits because I'm going to help you through all of the bits together. Now, Judy, I don't know if Judy's still on the call. Judy's going through this right now. So maybe Judy can say that this is good. And Adam, if you're thinking of writing another book, then maybe you want to join us on this. But I'm going to talk about this in a couple of weeks' time. But if you want to speak to me or you want to book a call in to have a chat, pop me a message and we'll set up a call. Okay. And it wasn't set up, but I will pay you later. Adam has added to that. It's not bribable. Okay. We'll see. Right. Okay. So the thing to remember is to use all of your assets, to use all of the things that you've created. You've created a vault of value when you're writing a book, when you're thinking about writing a book, when you're coming up with the mechanisms and the frameworks and the systems and the processes and the steps and the images and you've spent time thinking about the best way of phrasing something. These are all valuable assets. And it's not just the book that you end up with. It's all this other stuff around the book. So you end up with lots of assets. So you when you publish a book, when you write and publish a book, you'll end up with a PDF of the book. That's a valuable asset and people forget about it. You can share chapters, you can share pages, you can share your images. You will have your printed book, an actual physical printed book. So you can share that, you can sell that, you can give that away. It's a different tactic for generating business from your book. You will also probably have an ebook, which is a different way of a different mechanism for getting to people. You may even have an audio book. You will have the images, you will have the cover. So you have all of these assets that you can do stuff with. It's not just the book. So don't, the process of writing a book creates a little ecosystem of valuable assets that you can do stuff with. And thanks, Judy. Judy said, Deb's taken us through this whole thing and is brilliant. Now, that was a bribe. It wasn't a bribe. But Judy is a fantastic member of our group and really helps people and is a really good supporter of everybody. And Judy's also said, our 5 books are coming out in November. Good plug, Judy. And I have been faffing around with mine for 2 years, but doubt it would have happened without the process, without the process and with her. Okay, thank you. But yeah, find this quite a lot, which is books that have been going around in heads for a while or have almost got done, not quite got done, a great idea, but never quite got it there. When we go through this process, and it's a very bossy, strict process, and I'm going to talk to you about it in a couple of weeks. But when we go through this process, suddenly the book pops out at the end and it's like a magic trick. And other people see the book pop out at the end, they see the 5 books that are popping out in a month's time and think it is a magic trick. And they don't realise quite how hard Judy's worked and Anne's worked and Andy's worked and Karen's worked on their books. And it is, we do have to work hard. It's like, you know, it's not a magic trick. I wish it was a magic trick. I would prefer it if it were a magic trick. Okay, so thinking campaigns. Constrain yourself, assign responsibilities, don't do everything yourself. Start in your comfort zone, start where you know you're going to get things done, and then expand from there and take advantage of all of your assets. Okay, now I'm going to end up this. I always try and keep them to less than 40 minutes, and I'm just about to do that. People talk about having their marketing plan, but the only good marketing plan is the one that you actually do. It doesn't matter how elaborate, and you know me and a good plan, I'll elaborate and chaosify my way into the best plans in the world. But it doesn't matter how good the marketing plan is if you don't do it. And the only good marketing plan is one that you actually do. And if you connect marketing with adding value and adding value with writing a book, then marketing just gets built into everything you do while you're writing the book. And that's basically what we do in the group. Now, next Wednesday for session 4, I'm going to talk about stop waiting. So why the process that I help people go through will help you stop waiting to start writing. Okay, because Judy mentioned, you know, a book has been going around in her head for a couple of years. I've got a process, and I'm going to share the process next week. And the process will help you get out of the brain and get stuff into the world. Okay. Now, I was told last week that it cut off really quickly, so I'm going to just let it trail off. So just in case StreamYard is cutting us off before it's actually finished, If you have any questions, or you want to get in touch, or you've got anything that you didn't want to say publicly or want to say it privately, pop me a message. I'm really open to having chats with anybody who's interested in writing their book. Next week, same time, same place, we'll talk about stop waiting. Okay, ciao.